Okay, all right. So this is a really common thing that pops up a lot. Getting really nervous about visiting your parents' house because the foods that they have there, they're not the same foods that you have at home. And it heightens anxiety, it heightens control, just like, oh my gosh, like I feel so nervous going because what if I eat everything in sight? I don't have those foods in my house. It's not an issue. I can hyper control my food, but once I leave my house, it's really nerve-wracking because I don't have all of that control. These might be things that are popping through your head, and it's totally common. It doesn't have to be your normal, but for a lot of people, it is really normal. Being able to hyper control food when you are in really perfect situations, but not knowing what to do with food when you're in imperfect food situations. This used to scare me a lot. I used to have a lot of anxiety about visiting my parents, which is one of the stupidest things. Like I look back and I'm like, that was so stupid. That was so silly that you had anxiety about visiting your parents' house because of the food that was there, right? Like visiting your parents' house is supposed to be an enjoyable thing, relationships, social events, seeing other people. That should be something enjoyable, but it causes so much anxiety for me because there are going to be carbs there. There's going to be sugar there. I don't know what they're going to serve for dinner. So much of this. So if these are things that are crossing your mind, I want you to do these two things. Number one, think of those foods that are at your parents' house that aren't just vegetables and protein. A little bit of those processed fun foods. Think about those things that when you go to your parents' house, those are the things that cause so much anxiety in your life. Buy those foods and put them in your home. I know what you're going to say. No, I can't do that. Then I will just binge on them in my house. But here's the thing is that if you don't have them in your house, there's this novelty. You're visiting and you're like, oh my gosh, I never get to eat this stuff. I should eat all of it because I'm not going to be able to eat it again. If you normalize having those foods in your life, it's not that big of a deal. You can have those foods anytime. We have this scarcity mindset, right? We're like, oh my gosh, once I go to this situation and I eat these foods, I'm not going to be allowed to have these again. They are going to be taken away from me. So if we can normalize having those foods, it takes away the novelty. It takes away the need to eat all of them and consume all of them and feel gross, right? So that's the first thing I want you to do is buy those foods and practice having them in your house in addition to your plants and protein. The other thing that I want you to do is examine the thoughts in your head. What are you saying to yourself when you're thinking about going to your parents' house? What are you saying to yourself when you're thinking about going to a restaurant or really any of these imperfect food situations? Are you saying things like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous to be around this food because if I have some, I'm going to fall apart and eat all of it, right? You're saying that in your head, right? What are the actions you take? You do that, and then you start to create evidence like, shit, see, I knew this was going to happen. You start to create evidence that this is the life that you're living. So your thoughts and your beliefs, the things that are running through your head, your beliefs about yourself, those are the things that are going to fuel your actions and then do it repeatedly. That's going to create the life that you have, the results that you get. So if you want to change your end results, it's not just the daily actions that you take. It really starts with your thoughts and beliefs. So when you're going to your parents' house and you hear yourself saying these things like, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat all the food and I'm going to binge and I'm going to feel gross, examine those thoughts and think, what if that wasn't true? What would life be like if that wasn't what happened? And start to examine those thoughts and reframe them. Cool. I'm going to go to my parents' house. I'm going to go to this restaurant. I'm going to go on vacation, whatever, and I'm going to feel normal around food. I'm going to eat vegetables. I'm going to don't drink protein. You can drink protein shakes. I'm going to eat vegetables. I'm going to eat protein. I'm going to drink plenty of water, and I'm going to consume these processed foods and actually feel good at the end of this. If those are the thoughts that you can have going through your head, those thoughts are going to start to fuel your actions, and then you're going to create evidence, and you're going to be like, holy shit. Like that thing that Jacqueline was talking about, I just did it. It's the first time that I did it. I don't feel gross. I visited my parents' house. I visited a restaurant. I went on vacation and I don't feel gross. Maybe I actually can do this thing, right? So now you start to create evidence, and it's just one thing of evidence, but then you do it again, and you do it again, and you'll probably mess up at some point, but you start to create more evidence that this is the lifestyle that you can have, that this isn't that hard, that this can be something that you do and something you do sustainably and actually enjoy. Then you do that over time. How long? Like a lot of times. You need a lot of reps. If you've had a disordered relationship with food and a disordered relationship with your thoughts for years, for decades, this doesn't get solved in a 2-week period. This doesn't get solved in a 30-day period. This takes a lot of repetition because those grooves, those ruts, those are dug in really deep in your brain. The habit loops that are there, those are really deep. It's going to take time to unlearn those habit loops and reprogram to new habit loops that are serving you, that are in alignment with the life that you want to live, okay? So to recap, if you have a lot of food anxiety when you leave your house, when you leave your Tupperware container, and you don't want that anxiety in your head anymore, and you want to actually feel normal, feel good, the first thing that you're going to do is practice eating those foods, like actually have those in your house. And the second thing that you're going to do is examine your thoughts and beliefs and reframe them to thoughts and beliefs that you actually want to be having. And then I guess the third thing is you got to practice this over and over. Like, you got to put the reps in. You've been putting the reps in the other way for decades. It's going to take some time. Is it going to take decades for you to figure this out? No, it's not going to take decades. You have a framework in place. You have the steps in place. Before you were going just like, oh, whatever. Now you have the steps in place, but it's going to take some time. Give it a few months. Give it several months. Give it a year. Give it 2 years. The best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. So if you want to work on your relationship with food and not feel nervous about food, start practicing these things now. Months down the line, you'll be like, oh, cool. This is just normal. I don't have to have this conversation with myself. This just feels normal, right? If this is something that you are struggling with and you're like, cool, I would love to have someone help me actually feel good around food, actually feel normal, not have these binge fests, not feel nervous about Girl Scout cookies or about going to visit friends or going to visit your parents. I have some openings for one-on-one coaching clients this upcoming month. I will post the link below. I'd love to help you have a normal relationship with food and actually enjoy your life. All right, take care.